All right, we're recording now. Praise Yah. Again, I want to thank you for joining us for the second session. The earlier fellowship and prayer was amazing. I greatly appreciate you all that were able to join us earlier. And times like this, it's important to dig into that prayer, allow the Most High to speak to us. Take the time to just listen and hear what the Most High wants to speak to us about. So he did his thing. I greatly appreciate that. It was amazing. Again, recapping for those of you that are joining us on the Zoom live, down below, you're going to have the area for chat. So if you want to speak to everyone in the chat group while the lesson is going forward, if you have a question for the group in general or a question for me, you can throw your question in chat. Where it says to everyone, that's what you say is going to be able to be read by everyone. If you want to send me a message directly just for me to see, you can just change it from to me as the host. 1 second. Got one more person that's trying to get in. They did not get the link for some reason. All right. But anyway, I thank you. If you look in the chat right now, Brother Ray, if you're available, can you post the link into the main chat for everyone? I'm asking that. I know you put it in there before. I'm looking at it right now, but I think for some people that come on later on, they don't see it for some reason. Something like that. So,
yes, you can only see from the second you join.
Yeah. All right. So let's get started. I'm gonna pray real quick, and then I'm gonna go into part one of the second session. All right. So Abiyah, thank you for this time that we have to come back, joining together in your presence. We just praise you and honor you for who you are and all you're doing in and through our lives. We are your chosen people. We are your chosen vessels. We submit ourselves to you and only you. We just thank you for who you are, and we just continually ask for you to have your hedge of protection around about us, our loved ones, our family members, and all that we're stewards over. May we be able to clearly hear your voice in these times and during these times and seasons. We seek your will for our life, and I just pray that your spirit will rest upon us during this second session of our Shabbat fellowship. May your word and the truth of your word go forth. May you be glorified, magnified in the lives of us, your people, your children. May we have ears to hear, eyes to see, a mind to understand all that you have prepared for us this day. In the name of your Son, Yahushua Mashiach, amen, amen, amen. So let it be. Hallelujah.
Amen.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Okay, so some of you have seen some of the different handouts I've given. The name of my ministry, my direct ministry, is Biblical Hebrew Awakening. I've had this ministry since 2015-16, and one of the main things that I wanted to do was I wanted to awaken our people to who they are, those of us who are still asleep, okay? You look at the ministry of Rebirth of a Nation, awaken, restore, and prepare, and that's very vital and important to do those steps. It's important to awaken, and it's important to restore what was lost to us, and prepare for the coming kingdom of the Most High Yah. So many of you that have gone to my actual live Shabbat fellowships in your state or city, you may have seen something like this. A sheet of paper where when I'm doing some of my biblical Hebrew lessons, a little practice sheet on learning the biblical Hebrew and understanding, just to get your mind in a frame of understanding. It's very important. You've also may have been given this that has some of the biblical Hebrew letters. This is the Aramaic font of the biblical Hebrew. And so you guys should have that or have received that in the past. I will make this available via a Google Drive folder for you guys to have. But we're going to start essentially the next few lessons I do until I complete the entire alphabet. We're going to go over some of the biblical Hebrew alphabet so you can understand from a Hebraic perspective the root of these pictographic words, meanings, the language, the heart of these words. So what I'm gonna do right now, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. We're gonna go through a couple of the alphabet, and then we're gonna get into our second part. All right. So before I do that, does anybody have any questions? Any questions? We all good? All right. Let me share the screen. I will not be able to see the I will not be able to see the chat once I go into transition. So that's what I'm asking right now. If there's any statements or questions, everybody's good. We're gonna get started. All right.
Out.
Let's see here. If you do need to say something to me, I'm gonna need you to. There we go. I'm gonna need you to do it audibly. All right. So let's see. We are going to go over the Hebrew alphabet. Hebrew alphabet. All right. The characters you currently see on your screen is the aleph and the bait. We're going to break these down for you to understand. If you can, please go ahead and take notes. So have your pen and paper out to take some notes and write some of the stuff down. All right. All right. So the very first character we're looking at, the pictographic element we're looking at, is the al. The al. The character is the al. All right, so I'm gonna read it as is because some people might not be able to read the screen itself. The original pictograph for this letter is a picture of an ox head representing strength, power from the work performed by the animal. This pictograph also represents a chief or other leader. All right. When two oxen are yoked together for pulling a wagon or plow, one is the older and more experienced, and that's the one that actually leads the other oxen. All right. Within the clan, tribe, or family, the chief or father is seen as the elder who is yoked to the rest of the family and is seen as the leader and or teacher. All right. So hopefully you can see that. Again, that is the al or el. We anglicize everything, but it literally is going to be more or less al. All right. So we're talking about the actual biblical root of the Hebrew language. Okay, modern name for this pictographic character is the aleph. The aleph. All right, so the modern name again is aleph. You're looking there, you have an aleph or an al, a lamed, and a pe. All right, and this corresponds to the Greek name of alpha. Alpha. All right, so if you look, again, what the Greek had tended to do, and a lot of the ancient languages tended to do, is put an A at the end. Okay, So alpha. All right. Instead of aleph, it's alpha. Also, the Arabic name aleph, that is the actual Arabic character for aleph. I didn't want to anglicize it and put it in English like I did on the Greek. So that is the actual Arabic for aleph. The various meanings of this root are, again, oxen, yoke, and to learn. Each of these meanings is related to the meanings of the pictograph of the al. Again, al meaning strength, power, and chief. All right, continuing on, when you're talking about the character of al, which is your al and your lamed, the lamed is a pictograph of the shepherd's staff, represents authority. It also represents a yoke. So when you combine these two pictographs together, it means strong authority. So the chief of your house, or the chief of your village, or the chief rulers of your nation, or the father of the house is known as the strong authority. Strong authority, al, or el, like Elohim, Eloheinu, or Oluwa, right? The al can also be understood as the ox in the yoke. All right. And so it talks about many Near Eastern cultures worshiped the god Al or El. All right. And it was depicted as a bull in carvings and statues. All right. And so Al is represented again by a strong authority. There are many L's, but there is only one Almighty. Okay. All right, let's break this down some more, and then I'm gonna pause real quick and open it up for any questions. Early Semitic pictograph of the Al was simplified over time to what you see there. And then in the Middle Hebrew script, it was again altered again until it evolved into the late Hebrew script, which looks more reminiscent of the Babylonian Aramaic Aleph we know of today. And then you look at the modern Hebrew, that's the stylized font for the Aleph. All right, so before I move forward, anybody have any questions? I need some feedback. Let me know we're good, so I'm not leaving nobody behind. We good?
Good,
Yep.
Good so far.
All right, cool. Let's go on. All right, check this out. The Aleph, Hebrew is the root of all languages. Hebrew is the root of all languages. You'll never look at the A the same again.
Hallelujah.
The Middle Semitic was adopted by the Greeks to become the letter A or alpha, and it carried over into the Roman A. So look at the Aleph, pictograph of the Aleph, and then go on when you look at that Middle Hebrew, how they simplified it. I guess they felt like I wasn't no artist. I'm not trying to do all that, so they tried to make it simple as possible, right? Which literally that became the letter A. They just rotated it around. So literally the A we have today is simply an upside down ox head from the Hebrew Paleo. Any questions? We all good?
So far, so good.
All right, check this out. Come on. The Middle Semitic script of the Aleph also became the #1 we use today. And yes, the Aleph, even in modern times, is represented as the #1. All right, so I'm gonna open the floor before we transition to the next character. What are your thoughts about that you've learned so far? What's your guys' thoughts? Go ahead and unmute yourselves.
I, I appreciate the fact that you are appropriating the Aramaic Babylonian script, because I hear a lot of talks and a lot of questions about, oh, is that Paleo? And people are thinking that the Paleo is the same thing as the Aramaic when it's different phases and different terms, slightly different.
Oh yeah, all it is a font. Like I had spoke on this before, and people were like, "Wait, what?" Because you oftentimes hear people say, "Oh, Yeshua spoke Aramaic." You can't speak Aramaic. Aramaic is a font. It's like me saying, "Oh, I speak Arial."
Right.
Oh my God.
Right?
Which
Like, you know, I don't speak Arial font.
Okay, gotcha. Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I was like,
That's not how that works. But again, this is a breakdown of the Aleph over time, from the ox head to being simplified to, again, the Middle Semitic script, which again, that became representative of the number one. So when you look at our number one we use today and you see the little hook on the top, that was representative of the Aleph.
okay. So one more time. We got the actual ox head would be
Mhm.
paleo.
Yes.
The upside down A would be ancient or middle.
No. So this is the Middle Semitic right there, what you're seeing right there.
Okay. So,
So-
my main question was, how do we get from the somewhat upside down A to the almost number one in the middle?
Right there.
Like what's the time difference or the significance and difference between that second one and the third one?
Oh, you're just talking about time. You're just talking about a period of time over time. It's literally a progression of time. So you have paleo, early, middle, and late.
Okay, yeah, I've never seen that third one before. Like,
Yeah. So here's the thing about it. Again, the Hebrew language, okay, in written form, you can say Phoenician. It's literally just a Semitic language that is the root of mankind. Like everybody used it. That's why I'll tell you a quick story. Real quick, I had began learning the Hebrew, and I also began learning the Greek. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is blowing my mind back. The Greek is actually based off of the Hebrew. And even when you hear things like, oh, there's no letter H in the Greek, like that, right? So to speak, it's just not like you think it is. It's still there. Like there's certain letters that are still there. They're not seen like you think they should be. So we'll get into all that kind of stuff. But again, you're looking at simply a progression of a font over time, right? You're looking, that's what you're looking at. You're looking at the pictographic Aleph that was used by everybody. And then again, over time, it got simplified. One second here. Okay. It got simplified, and every culture starts to kind of appropriate it for themselves, for their culture, until then it became unrecognizable when you look at it today. Like nobody normally, let's say the research this, would know that the number one has its root with the Aleph.
Nah, this is the first time I'm hearing that or seeing that one. I mean, not like I know anything, but like I've tried to familiarize myself with the different phases, and like, see, it's good to know.
So now we're seeing it. Let's move forward. The bait. All right. So the Hebrew bait. Several variations were used for the original pictographic of the bait, which represents essentially a tent or a house. But let's go ahead and break this down. That particular pictograph you see there best represents the nomadic tents of us as Hebrews. the tent was divided into 2 sections. So I need you to look at that again on the actual image itself. All right, so we got 2 sections, the men's quarters and the women's quarters, with the entrance at the front of the tent being the men's section, and the entrance from the men's section to the women's section, that's the way it looks like that, like a chamber. So you have your entrance and an area for the brothers to kind of help, hang out and fellowship and things like that. And then you have women and children on the other side around the bin. All right, so that is the pictographic element for the bait or the house. All right, again, the bait references house, tent, as well as the family, because where does the family dwell?
Inside.
The house.
House.
The family dwells inside or within the house. So again, a common designation for a family is to identify the house, the family of the patriarchs. One second here.
Can I say one thing?
Go ahead.
I like how that's set up because, the man is supposed to protect the house. So the man would be right by the opening when you look at it.
Absolutely.
And then the family will be inside. So that's all I wanted to say.
That's good. Yeah, I got people that are still trying to jump in right now while I'm teaching, so I'm not going to be able to have them come in. They might have to come in on the second portion, so I can keep the flow going. So again, the original name for this letter is Beit, the parent root of the child root Beit. All right, so this Bet, and then this Beyet. Equivalent to the Greek beta. So when you hear beta, that is bait with the Greek a at the end, beta. Arabic, it's bayet. Bayet. All right. All right, the letter itself will be pronounced with a B type sound when sounded as a stop, as in the word bait, or also you have it as a sound, which kind of can come across like a V sound, which is the reason why you have a lot of the Germanic, they're going to use V, so some will say Avram, some will say Avram. Okay. Moving forward, hopefully. Also, for those of you who have been studying Hebrew, it'll make some sense to you now. This letter is commonly used as a prefix to words to mean in, within, or with, as in beretz, meaning in earth, or in a earth, or in a land. Or when you hear people say, Bahashem Yahushua HaMashiach, they're literally saying, in the name, Ba, in, Ha, the, Shem, name, Yahushua, Yah, salvation, Ha, the, Mashiach, Messiah. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Everybody else, does that make sense? Let me know. I don't want to go past this. So I want to make sure it makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense.
Yep.
All right, cool. So I'm going to say that one more time. Again, letter Bates, Bates is used as a prefix to words to mean in, with, or within, as in Be'eretz, meaning in the land, in a land, or in the earth, or in earth specifically. Or again, when you hear people say Bahashem Yahushua Mashiach, they are saying in for Ba, in, Ha, the, Shem, name. Okay. This early Semitic letter of Bates evolved into what we know of as the Middle Semitic script of the Beit, down to the late Semitic script, and then down to the modern Hebrew Beit we see today. This is also where we get the letter B in the Greek.
Oh man.
All right, so this, you have the house or the tent, and then you also have it, going through time where they're trying to make it more simple. Okay, try to make it more simple, and it ultimately turned into the Greek character of beta. It's bait, and again beta, beta, beta. This is the reason why we say aleph, fa, beta, alphabet, or alphabet. Let's keep going. The late Semitic script of the bait also became the number 2. And yes, bait is representative in modern Hebrew period, as the number 2. Everybody good? Does that make sense? We good?
G to G.
Good.
Good.
All right, now this next one's going to be pretty interesting. This is the Hebrew pictographic word of gam. Gam. All right. This is the earliest known pictograph for the gam, and this is an image of a foot in modern Hebrew, which rips off from the Arabic. The name of this that we still have now in modern Hebrew is gimel. Gimel. That is an adopted root from the Arabic, gimel. But the original word for this pictographic element of a foot in the actions of a foot is gam. Gam. That is the true parent root of gimel. Going further, the word gam means to gather together as a group of animals gathering at the water hole to drink. Now, this pictographic script for the word gam is the gam and the mem, or the ma. Okay? But I'm going to try to we haven't got to the mem yet, so I'm going to just keep it like it is. So, the pictographic script for the word gam is gam and mem. The gam is the foot representing the action of walking. The mem is the water. Again, mem can mean multiple things, but primarily it means water, such as in Moses' name is derived from the mem for water. So combined, these mean walk to the water. Again, the letter gam or gimel in modern Hebrew has the meanings of to walk, carry, or gather. And the sound associated with this pictographic character or letter is G, as in go. All right, let's look at the progression here. Early Semitic gam became this new gam where you have it where it's literally inverted and flipped 180 degrees. All right. This then further developed into the late Semitic script you see there. Take a close look. What does that look like is happening? It looks like a stick figure man that's walking.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that?
Talking about the third one?
Yes, the third one.
Yes.
Which then developed into the modern Hebrew that you see there. So again, that third one right there.
The modern Hebrew, the further away it looks like the meaning of what it is.
Right. So next, so the first one was a foot. Then you have going from that to the third one is an image of a person walking. Further clarifying the action of the gam. And then you have the Again, you have the Masoretic, Aramaic, Hebrew, which looks like that. Variations of that. We're not done with the Gam yet. From that Middle Semitic script of the Gam, which also became the Gamma, like Gamma rays, Gam became the Greek Gamma. This also became the Roman C and the Roman G derived from this. So the Gam is literally the third letter in the alpha beta in Greek. So although it's Gam, again, you can also see Kam or Gam. The root is the Gam of the Hebrew. That's where we get the C sound from, and the G sound from is the Gam. From that late Semitic became the number 3. The number 3 that we have today is based off of the Gam. All right. Any questions?
Yeah, I got a question. Did we skip the vet?
Haven't got there. Well, the vet is the bet. It's just a matter of the pronunciation. I already talked about that as far as the vet is concerned. It's a issue of the pronunciation. So you're looking at bet or you're looking at vet. But again, it's not really. It's still a bet sound. It's just a more breathy sound of the bets.
Yeah, it has 2 number 2s next to it. That's why I was wondering when I'm looking at the yeah.
Bets. The reason why that you have the dot in the middle is to show you whether the word is in modern times gonna be used with a bet sound, a hard bet, or v sound.
Got you.
Not a V.
Not a V?
It's not a V, but that because of our English background and our Greco understanding, the closest sound that we're able to utter that makes sense to us in our Anglo-Saxon understanding of language is the V. It's not a V, but that's the closest we can come to in our current tongue to the sound it was originally, if that makes sense. It's still a bit, but it's a matter, like I said, there's like when you talk about the Europeans, they can't say some of these same sounds. So they do what they can do. They
don't got that tongue.
I don't got it like that, but I got something close. That's when you're dealing with just literally the pronunciation of a word. You're dealing with transliteration of a word. You're transliterating it into your own tongue as best you can. Like
similar.
Like I'm trying to think right now. Like Asians and Japanese folks, they have a hard time saying certain words. Their tongue just it ain't happening. Like they'll use the letter sound of an L instead of an R because they have a hard time with their R's. So it's more like a L sound that they'll use. Everybody does the best they can with what they got. That's just what it comes down to. All right, so I'm gonna stop that share. I see some of y'all was distracted in the chat. Talking about 5G during my lesson, huh? All right.
Hey, listening.
Fail. Fail. Was that helpful? Was that beneficial or helpful to anyone?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. I have a question.
Yep.
When I was first learning, the foot in the early Hebrew for the bayet, for the gemel, or the gam, when I was learning it at first, does it matter which direction the foot is pointing in? Is that significant?
Yes, it is, and that's more of a cultural thing because it changed over time. So
Okay.
depending on the culture, it inverted and flipped.
Okay.
Which is also the reason why you have it where the Greeks have it flipped the other direction, which became a C in Rome, and it became a G after the C, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
And here I was wondering, like, how do you get gams for legs? Like, cause it's like an old school, like if a woman was to like show off her legs, like, yo, she's got a great set of gams. And I was like, how do you get that from that? It sounds like that could be possibly how it's related.
I got no words on that one. I don't know. You went out there on that one. You,
Caught out there.
you went out there on that one. All right. So
I just sat there and took it.
again, when you're looking at understanding the Hebrew for yourself, I'm going to go through more of these Hebrew characters 3 at a time, so you can kind of learn them and go. One thing you want to make sure you have in general when you're looking at the Hebrew is get you a good concordance or a lexicon. All right. Anyone that knows about the different concordances knows what this one is. This is the 1894 Strong's Concordance. This is one of the original ones. Now this is a reprint. Thus it looks pretty decent. And this is very good to help you understand the Hebrew, to help you learn the Chaldee, to help you learn the Greek. It's very important to get. All right, so I'm going to transition unless there's any more statements, comments in regards specifically to the lesson we just went over, just to kind of, again, go over the Hebrew alphabet, because, again, that's important. I want to make sure that I get that to you guys so you guys can kind of do more research on it and learn. So Aleph, Bet, Gimel, or Gam.
I have one question. What version of Strong's was that again for the chat?
That's the original Strong's, and this one's specific to the authorized King James edition. It's not the newer ones. The newer ones, they compromise because they're trying to deal with all the modern English translations.
Yeah, that's the one I have.
And there's a big difference between like the one I have here and the one you can get in modern times. All right. This one is legit for real. And it even has some of the comparative scripture. So I won't get into all that, but it'll help you decipher the King James a lot better now. Just keep it simple as that.
Appreciate that.
I have a quick question about that last one, the Gam again.
Mm-hmm.
Have you, in any of your research, found it affiliated with the Holy Spirit, with the Ruach HaKodesh?
Not directly,
Okay.
indirectly, yes, but not directly.
Okay, that's exact. Okay, thank you.
All right, let's transition into this. We are going into the Testament of Yahudah. The Testament of Yahudah. All right. If you look in the chat, there should be a link for the Google Drive. If you joined in late, if someone can drop the link to that Google Drive again for those that came in late. At this point, I'm not adding anyone else in. We're going to drive on and close out with this and then have some discussion. Okay. Starting at verse 1, Testament of Yahudah, the fourth son of Jacob and Leah. The copy of the words of Yahudah, what things he spake to his sons before he died. They gathered themselves together, therefore, and came to him. And he said to them, Hearken, my children, to Yahudah your father. I was the fourth son born to my father, Jacob, and Leah, my mother, named me Yahudah, saying, I give thanks to Yahuwah, because he hath given me a fourth son also. I was swift in my youth and obedient to my father in everything, and I honored my mother and my mother's sister. And it came to pass when I became a man that my father blessed me, saying, Thou shalt be a king, prospering in all things. And Yahuwah showed me favor in all my works, both in the field and in the house. I know that I raced a hind and caught it, prepared the meat for my father, and he did eat. And the roes I used to master in the chase and overtake all that was in the plains. A wild mare I overtook and caught and tamed it. I slew a lion and plucked a kid out of its mouth. I took a bear by its paw, hurled it down a cliff, and it was crushed. I outran a boar and seized it as I ran, tearing it asunder. A leopard in Hebron leaped upon my dog. I caught it by the tail, hurled it on the rocks, and it was broken in twain. I found a wild ox feeding in the fields. Seizing it by the horns, whirling it around and stunned it, I cast it from me and slew it. And when the two kings of the Canaanites came, sheathed in armor against our flocks, and much people with them, single-handed I rushed upon the king of Hazor, smote him at the graves, and drug him down, and so I slew him. And the other king of Tapua, as he sat upon his horse, I slew, and so scattered all his people. Achor, the king, a man of giant stature, I found, hurling javelins before and behind as he sat on horseback. And I took up a stone of 60 pounds weight and hurled it and smote his horse and killed it. And I fought with his other two companions. I fought for another 2 hours, and I clave his shield in two, and I chopped off his feet and killed him. And as I was stripping off his breastplate, behold, 9 men, his companions, began to fight with me. And I wound my garment by my hand, and I slung stones at them and killed 4 of them. The rest fled. And Yaakov, my father, slew Beelzeth, king of all the kings, a giant in strength, 12 cubits high. Fear fell upon them, and they ceased warring against us. Therefore, my father was free from anxiety in the wars when I was with my brothers. For he saw in a vision concerning me that an angel of might followed me everywhere, that I should not be overcome. And in the south there came upon us a greater war than that in Shechem. And I joined in battle array with my brethren, and pursued 1,000 men, and slew of them 200 men and 4 kings. And I went up upon the wall, and I slew 4 mighty men. And so we captured Hazor, and took all the spoil. On the next day we departed to Artan, a city strong and walled and inaccessible, threatening us with death.
Just a moment. Okay, I found this on the web for strong and walled and inaccessible.
Now that's interesting. We got Apple listening into my lesson. All right, let's go ahead and back up again. And so we captured Hazor and took all the spoil. On the next day we departed to Aratan, a city strong and walled and inaccessible, threatening us with death. But I and Gad, my brother, approached on the east side of the city, and Ruvel, and Levi on the west. And they that were upon the wall, thinking that we were alone, were drawn down against us. And so my brothers secretly climbed up the wall on both sides by stakes, and entered the city, while the men knew not. And we took it with the edge of the sword. And as for those who had taken refuge in the tower, we set fire to the tower and took both it and them. And we also were departing, and as we were also departing, the men of Tapua, seizing our spoil, and seeing this, we fought with them, and we slew them all and recovered our spoil. And when I was at the waters of Kozava, and the men of Yovel came against us to battle, and we fought with them and routed them, and their allies from Shiloh we slew, and we did not leave them power to come in against us. And the men of Machir came upon us the 5th day to seize our spoil, and we attacked them and overcame them in fierce battle. For there was a host of mighty men amongst them, and we slew them before they had gone up to the ascent. And when we came to their city, their women rolled upon us stones from the brow of the hill upon which the city stood. And I and Simeon hid ourselves behind the town, and seized upon the heights, and destroyed this city also. And the next day it was told to us that the king of the city, Gaash, with a mighty host was coming against us. I therefore and Dan, my brother, feigned ourselves to be Amorites, and as allies went into their city. And in the depth of night our brethren came, and we opened to them the gates, and we destroyed all the men and their substance, and we took for a prey all that was theirs. And their 3 walls we cast down. And we drew near to Tamna, where was all the substance of the hostile kings. Then, being insulted by them, I was therefore wroth, and rushed against them to the summit. And they kept slinging against me stones and darts, and had not Dan my brother aided me, they would have slain me. We came upon them therefore with wrath, and they all fled. And passing by another way, they besought my father, and he made peace with them. And we did to them no hurt, and they became tributary to us, and we restored to them their spoil. And I built Thamna, and my father built Paviel. I was 20 years old when this war befell, and the Canaanites feared me and my brethren. I'm going to stop right there. We're going into section 8 or chapter 8. What are your thoughts so far about what I've read?
Man, what I see is when the brothers get together, we are nothing to play with. You know what I'm saying? We are nothing. You know, people were fearing us, and you know, we're taking over kingdoms and stuff. Them boys don't play when they come together, and I see it being like that too when we all come together as one. You know, it's not a game when we come together and we wake up. So that's what I took from that.
Praise God. Yeah. Go ahead. If you guys got something you want to add, go ahead.
Well, this is Don in Portland. What I saw was chapter 3, verse 10. He said, "For he saw in a vision concerning me that an angel of might followed me everywhere, that I should not be overcome."
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was interesting that, you know, there's an angel by their side at all times, helping them with that strength, you know. So that to me it stood out.
Praise God. Anyone else?
The part with the bear kind of stood out to me. Him wrestling the bear, throwing rocks at horses. That man, he was no joke.
All right, again, we got over 25 people in here. Jump right in.
Couple things that stood out, or not just stood out, but like it's reminding me of is Samson and the was it the Hasmonean from the Maccabee area, from the Maccabee period, where they just had that warrior spirit.
Yeah, 2 different time frames, but I hear what you're saying. You got Samson, the
Yeah,
strength that
it's
came to him, and then also the Judah Maccabee. Absolutely.
It reminded me of King David. You know, he wrestled, you know, fought the lion and the bear, slung the stones. Clearly, he's from the tribe of Judah.
Amen. All right, anyone else jump on in?
What stood out for me was when he said that how he was in the midst of everyone, and he opened the gates for his brothers to come in to attack.
That's good. Anybody else? There's
Is
something
there
that
any
also
clues in the
happened.
time?
Hold on a second. There's something in there that really stands out, but no one said it yet. But go ahead, Dan.
Is there any clues in the time frame when this takes place, as far as like where Joseph was during this time period?
Yeah, so this is a period that is, well, okay, a couple things. This is describing obviously the youth from the early days of Judah down to his death. So we're still progressing through time. But this particularly is right after the incident with Dinah in Shechem. You can read about this in the book of Yashar, which means upright, which is also where you get Yasharal or Israel. Okay. And you can also read about some of this in Jubilees. But you're primarily going to get most of this information in Yashar and some other midrashic elements, and even some of the Arabic histories that talk about this as well. Because again, the Arabic piece is a different situation. The authentic Arabic histories are from our cousins, the Black, Hebrew, Negro-looking Arab people that can be found in Africa today. They also venerated these histories as well. They just went down a different path, and obviously they want to claim the covenant promise of Abraham for themselves. So you have infighting or strifing between our Arab brothers, Hebrew brothers, and the house of Israel, that's why you see some of the craziness that happened where essentially Psalms 83, right? Those Africans that sold Africans into slavery was Hebrews that were doing their thing against the house of Israel. So.
Moray, this is Mayala. One thing I notice is his athleticism and his physical prowess, as far as his ability to run and to just destroy. Just his strength alone, just him by himself, the what he can do. So.
And also, it says that he was the fourth son, so his mother named him Judah, which means to give praise and to give thanks to the Most High. And picking back off what one of the ox said is that when the Most High, an angel was with him, the angel of might, and that it just resonated with me when the Most High is for us, like when we're in the Torah, when like how his brother Dan came in as Torah to bear your brother burden, and not to leave us out there and everything, for us to be one, and that when we're operating that oneness like that, nobody.
That's right.
Nobody.
That's right. That's what they're scared of.
They absolutely are afraid of that.
That's what they're fighting against.
Yeah.
Got to have this unity amongst the house of Israel.
Yeah.
And amongst the children of Judah specifically. Y'all Negroes can't come together at all. It's about to be a wrap. This game.
That's funny.
Tombstone.
Funny.
Hey, Maury, I'd like to jump in real quick.
Yeah.
This is Doc Mac. Anyway, I was looking at how he was a son that obeyed his parents.
Yep.
He obeyed the Torah, right? Then, like Jeremy was talking about how he was the fourth son. He is Yahudah, right? Think about praise. Isn't praise the warfare, y'all?
Yeah.
Think about that. So you are a warrior just by through your name, but you got to come in the right order, right? Then, if we go down, how he said he was obedient to his father and all that stuff, and then verse 6, and it came to pass when I became a man that my father blessed me. We wait for the Father to bless us, right?
Yeah.
We're going to come to manship. We will come to the fullness eventually here real soon. And it says, and thou shalt be a king. Isn't this the proper order for us?
Amen.
Priests and kings, right? And then he goes into, and thou shalt be a king, prospering in all things.
Right.
So the curses are falling off. We're about to step into prospering in all things. Hallelujah. And then he went forth. He went forth in the order. He went forth in his name. And he went forth with the Most High leading. Because when he said that angel or Malachim was with him, I'm suspecting that was the Mashiach, y'all.
That's right.
That was. Well, anyway, I'm gonna digress. Go ahead, you got it now. Thank you.
That's all good.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right. One thing that stood out for me that no one touched on yet was in section 6 where it talks about, or I'm sorry, 7, how Dan and him faked to be Amorites.
Yep. Because they were from Ham, right?
Man, you talk about that. They feigned being Amorites. And as allies went into the city, like, hey, I'm with y'all. And then handle business. That's deep. All right, let's get into this. This is something that we're gonna progress through time, because in all that greatness and shouting and glory, here we go. All right, section 8, chapter 8. And I had much cattle, and I had for chief herdsman Iram the Adulamite. And when I went to him, I saw Persava, king of Adulam. And he spake unto us, and he made us a feast. And when I was heated, y'all know what that means. You'll figure it out. He gave me his daughter, Bathshua, to wife. So for your own personal notes, go ahead and put down Bathshua is the name of the wife of Judah. She bare me Er and Onan and Shelah, and 2 of them Yahuwah he smote them. For Shelah lived, and his children are you. So I'm going to read that again. And I had much cattle, and I had for chief herdsman Iram the Adulamite. And when I went to him, I saw Parasaba, king of Adulam, and he spake unto us, and he made us a feast. And when I was heated, he gave me his daughter Bathshua to wife. She bare me Er, Onan, and Shelah. 2 of them Yahuwah smote, for Shelah lived, and his children are ye. I'm going to stop right there. Very simple question. Were we supposed to be intermarrying with Canaanites?
No.
No.
Nobody.
Nope.
Y'all sure? Y'all sound like y'all uncertain.
I thought it was just within you.
Were the Israelites supposed to be intermarrying with the daughters of the Canaanites?
No.
No.
Let's move forward. And 18 years my father abode in peace with his brother Esau and his sons with us. After that, we came from Mesopotamia, from Laban. So now for those tracking the timeline, we're trying to see what's happening. And when 18 years were fulfilled, in the 40th year of my life, Esau, my uncle, the brother of my father, came upon us with a mighty and strong people. Yaakov, Israel, smote Esau with an arrow, and he was taken up wounded on Mount Seir. And as he went, he died at Ananarim. And we pursued after the sons of Esau. Now, they had a city with walls of iron and gates of brass, and we could not enter into it. And we encamped around and besieged it. And when they opened not to us in 20 days, I set up a ladder in the sight of all. And with my shield upon my head, I went up, sustaining the assault of stones upwards of 3 talents weight. And I slew 4 of their mighty men, and Rubel, or Reuben, and Gad, slew 6 others. Then they asked from us terms of peace. And having taken counsel with our father, we received them as tributaries. And they gave us 500 cores of wheat, 500 baths of oil, 500 measures of wine until the famine when we were down into Egypt. I'm going to stop right there. What are your thoughts about section 9 in regards to 18 years after the father abode in peace with brother Esau, but then in the 40th year of Judah's life, you have a situation where Esau came down to attack his brother. What are your thoughts about what we just read?
In
Man,
Jack, doesn't it say that one of Esau's grandsons or somebody else ended up killing Esau, not Jacob? I think that's what it says, Jack.
No, it was Jacob. It was Jacob.
So here's the thing. Stick to the story as it is right now, without conjecture of other books. What you're talking about or referring to, though, is a difference, and I've addressed this in past lessons in regards to, apologize, the book of Jasher versus the book of Jubilees. You're confusing the two. That's the difference. You're looking, each book is telling the same story from a different perspective and level of understanding. That's it. That's all.
That's a big difference.
Now,
Who killed Esau?
right now, from my research into it, Jacob is the one that killed Esau.
Jacob killed him.
That being said, as a scholar into these things, you have to look and see, okay, when you're looking at Jubilees or you're looking at Jasher, there's going to be a difference. It's a different telling of the same story. The events are the same. So since someone threw that out there, what ended up happening, which I want to say the Portland Assembly knows very well from the lesson I gave on this in regards to this episode, you had the sons of Esau that provoked Esau to fight against his brother.
Right.
They were upset. They were like, listen, if you don't go ahead and go after him, we're going to kill you. His own children provoked him to go to war with Jacob because of the situation with the blessing and the birthright situation. And so that's why the Edomite children of Esau were the ones that provoked their father to fight against Jacob. Jacob saw them coming afar off. He was warned, and he had a conversation with his brother in regards to, why are you here? Or do you come in peace? How we doing, bruh? And all the venom from Esau spewed forth from the past. So although they had resided at peace for all these different years, it was a situation where Esau was provoked to come against his own brother. Even though Isaac, those of you following the story, Isaac had tried to make a covenant between the two children that they would not break this covenant, that they would operate in brotherly love and peace.
Right.
And that there was also going to be a curse upon those that broke that covenant.
Yep, that's what I remember.
And so you have a situation where at the end of the day, you have Jacob striking his brother, wounding him, in which he died.
Esau should have just let his kids kill him.
No.
He should have let them.
Well, the kids were going to come no matter what.
His kids was down for they was down regardless, but his kids was
we
like,
gonna kill you if you don't.
no, his kids told Jacob, they said, look.
All right, y'all. Anyone else? Again, there's a lot of meat in that. So anyone else have any thoughts or comments in regards to that section? I know I kind of put a lot in there because of the some of the statements made, but anybody else got anything? There's still some meat in there if y'all want to jump in on that section.
No, I just want to say we still dealing with Esau's sons to this day. So I just wanted to say that we still dealing with Esau, or the house of Esau.
I mean, absolutely.
You know.
See that, and I'll talk about this. I'm gonna move forward for time's sake, but it's something where A lot of us in the diaspora, we look at the European colonizer and we look at them as the instrument of brutality and evil and the wicked things they did. That is on some supernatural evil level. Okay. And some of us have been taught and trained to go, oh, that's Esau. That's Esau. It's not Esau. If you look scripturally, you know who these folks are and where they come from. Now, that's also part of the disconnect when we try to go to our brothers and sisters in Africa. Even though we all have the same enemy in these colonizer type people, it's a situation of their enemy look like us. Their enemy is the brother man that looks like, oh, that's an African. That's not no African. No different than we ain't no Africans like that. You dealing with Hebrew Edomites. You're dealing with Hebrew Ishmaelites. You're dealing with Hebrew Moabites. You're dealing with black people that's evil as hell and will cut your throat and your head off in a heartbeat and won't even think about it. So you know, we go over there trying to talk about the white man. They're like, that Negro over there is stomping women, pregnant women, and killing babies and committing atrocities. That's why in modern times, they've been so easily seduced into thinking, oh, the European colonizer is nice now. He's our friend now. They give us things and we want to shuck and jive for them because, you know, they look at them as the source of modern day power, right? I'm going to a different subject, but we in here anyway. So they look at the European and the United Nations that's run by Europeans as some form of, maybe if we petition them like the Jewish people did, we'll get our own little territory. We'll get our own nation. So let's jump on these European colonizer folks and see if they'll bless off on us. It's like, no, Negro, that's a different animal of enemy. That's even worse than Esau. Okay, leave them folks alone. All right, and so all you have is us. Israel only has Israel. You can't look to these European folks to come and save you like that. And you already know what you're dealing with on the continent with Esau and with Ishmael and with Moab. They black, they Negro looking like you for the most part, and they will lop your head off in a moment. And they've been enabled by the European powers to stay in power to oppress you. That's why you have so many West Africans and even those down the Congo and other places they're getting out. They're leaving Africa, trying to get to Europe and Italy and France and China. What's your brown self doing in China? We're trying to escape from the brutal boot of Esau, the brutal boot of Moab, the brutal boot of Ishmael. Those same people that did Psalms 83 and sold us to the Europeans. So it's deep. It's deep when you look at. So like you said, we're still dealing with them today. We absolutely are. All right, but let's move on. Section 10. We double back in regards to section 8 or section 7. I'm sorry, section 8. Yes. Verse 10 or chapter 10. And after these things, my son took the wife Tamar from Mesopotamia, a daughter of Aram. Make note of that. Tamar is a daughter of Aram. Now was wicked, and he was in need concerning Tamar, because she was not of the land of Canaan. Let's read that again. And after these things, my son took to wife Tamar from Mesopotamia, a daughter of Aram. Now was wicked, and he was in need concerning Tamar, because she was not of the land of Canaan. And on the third night, Malach Yahuwah smote him, and he had not known her according to the evil craftiness of his mother, for he did not wish to have children by her. I'm gonna stop right there. Do you see what happened? Er, the son of Yahudah, under the direction of his mother, did not go in unto her to produce offspring and seed as a husband he's to do. His mother, a Canaanite, gave him instruction not to have seed with this woman because she wasn't a Canaanite. Let's keep going. In the days of the wedding feast, I gave Onan to her, Tamar, and he also in wickedness knew her not, though he spent with her a year. And when I threatened him, he went in unto her. But what did he do?
Yeah.
What did he do?
Spilled the seed.
Pulled out. Spilled the seed.
Yep.
He spilled the seed on the ground according to what?
His mother.
Yep.
According to the command of his mother, and he also died through wickedness.
Yep.
And I wish to give Shelah also to her, Tamar, but his mother did not permit it, for she wrought evil against Tamar. Why?
Because she wasn't a Canaanite.
Not the daughter of Canaan.
Wow.
Because she was not of the daughters of Canaan, the daughters of Canaan, the daughters of Canaan, as she also herself was.
Yes.
All right, let me keep going. Let me keep going, and then we're gonna open it up for discussion.
Dwayne. Oh,
hold on. We gotta keep going a little bit more.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna open it up. And I knew that the race of the Canaanites was wicked, but the impulse of youth blinded my mind. And when I saw her pouring out wine, owing to the intoxication of wine, I was deceived and took her, although my father had not canceled it. And while I was away, she went and took for Shelah a wife from Canaan. And when I knew what she had done, I cursed her in the anguish of my soul. And she also died through her wickedness together with her sons. All right, I'm gonna open it up. What's your thoughts?
Wow.
A lot of thoughts on that one.
Dwayne, this Jeremy out of Portland. Not to go too far back, but to add some context to what you're saying. Just to real quickly describe that battle between Jacob and Esau. Not to go too far back, but where I read in the Book of Jubilees is I believe that Esau actually came, the children of Esau actually came with like 4,000 chosen mighty men from Moab, from Ammon, from Palestine, and also from Edom. And that when the children of Jacob went to war with him that day, it said it was 50 men. Judah and his brother Naphtali took 50 men and they fought at the front gate. So the actual Judah tribe was the first, they fought the first gate, the front gate. And then all the brothers took the other 3 gates with 50 men. And so 50 men were fighting 1,000 men apiece. That's just how strong we were. Then going into, as far as adding some context why we were forbidden to marry the women from Canaan. My understanding was that Canaan was cursed, not just because of Dinah, and when we weren't supposed to give our sons and daughters after what happened with Dinah, but they were also cursed during the time of Noah. For when Ham, Shem, and Japheth went and got their lands, divided the lot according to their father Noah, that Canaan, that Ham was told, they were all made a covenant with one another that they weren't supposed to encroach on each other's lands and move the borders with each other's lands. None of them did that except for Canaan. And all of Cush had, all of Ham had told Canaan that they were out of line, but they never did correct and give Shem back his land. Therefore, the Most High had cursed them. They had been cursed ever since then, going into the whole Shechem Dinah thing. And even to this day, I just believe we're not supposed to talk. Canaan is cursed. Even to this day, I still believe that. And yeah, and so that's I just wanted to add a little context to everything to what you're teaching. I totally agree with you.
Okay, but also we were just in 10 and 11. You didn't even touch on that.
Verse 10 and 11.
Chapters 10 and chapters 11, or section 10 and 11. That's where we're at right now in the discussion.
Yeah. So
what was just read.
Yeah. So my understanding were the daughters of Aram, that they were still of Abraham's seed. That when the sons began to take daughters after they had basically sold their brother Joseph into slavery, and their father was mourning, they began to take women. They began to marry, and majority of the 12 sons took daughters from Aram. And I believe it was said that they were ancestors of Abraham's people. But there were 2 sons that took daughters from Canaan. And actually the first one was Judah, and actually Simeon repented. Yeah, Simeon took one of the daughters too, but then he later repented from taking the Canaanite daughter. So I guess it was permitted to accept the daughter from Aram, which would have been of Abraham's seed. I believe it's through one of his brothers' lineage. And so that's how I looked at Tamar, that she was righteous, but also not even talking about but going back to the daughters of Canaan, the Most High didn't want us to marry them for if they was to make us worship other gods and fall after false idols and stuff. And then we see that as an example here when Judah's wife didn't want him to marry righteously, but then to marry the daughters of Canaan, to take the daughters of Canaan. The Most High seen that as wicked and then blessed their seed. So that's just the way I interpreted those scriptures.
Anybody else?
Well, the way I see it is, Yah says you do things his way, and when you don't, he still finds a way to fulfill his word. Because they're not supposed to take, because when you read the Bible, it doesn't go into detail as to why these guys were wicked. It just says they were wicked, so I never knew what the reason was, and it never crossed my mind that, they were wicked because they wanted to, the mother wanted them to marry Canaan women, and they were not trying to have, children with these other women. So that just kind of stood out to me. So.
And what stands out to me, this is Sister Felina here in Portland. It stands out that they were listening to their mother's words and not what the Most High instructed them to do according to Torah.
Right.
But we got to understand if Judah had not married her, and by him having gone astray, in cleaving to an unrighteous woman, his children would have remained in righteousness, and they would have been raised in righteousness, whereas now they were raised in wickedness because the mother gives instructions.
Right. Listen to mom rather than listen to mom.
That goes into a whole different level of teaching, and that's what it comes down to. So when you're talking about the daughters of Aram, those were our people. Those were Shemitic people, right? Those were Shemitic people. Those are our people. And it's something where the Bible absolutely goes into the wickedness of the Canaanites and different aspects of the things they did, some that was brought out earlier. And also the situation with Canaan himself going out there, because some of y'all know, some of y'all don't know from my past teachings, Canaan was birthed out of an illicit union between Ham and Noah's wife. thus cursed be Canaan. All right. So there's a lot of wickedness and things that, I mean, he was birthed in wickedness and his people were wicked and did wicked things, and so on and so forth. Anybody else have insight on those two chapters? Jump right in. It's a lot in there.
Sometimes I have to read a story more than once to really fully understand it, but it looks like the progression of something, because in the beginning they were taking wives from Canaan they weren't supposed to, and then in the next
Clarify that. That's a bold statement to make. You got to clarify that. You can't throw it out there like that.
What, that they weren't supposed to take wives from the...
No, you said they are in the beginning. They were taking wives from Canaan. They weren't, although Judah did in this situation.
I'm sorry, not they, Judah, yeah. Took a wife that he wasn't supposed to, and then later on down the line, that wife was advising the son in a way that would benefit her people, from what I'm seeing here. That's all I was saying.
Absolutely. And that is exactly what happens to this day. There's certain people, aka colonizers, that's how they got down. When you look at the house of Togarmah, when you look at the Khazars, that's what they did across the earth. They would give their daughters or sons in some cases, but primarily their daughters, into other nations to join with them, and then they took over, killed everybody, wore their clothes, took their names, and became them. Thus you have what you have today.
Infiltration. That's
the same thing happens to this day. That's a different topic. Anyone else? Jump right in. We got over 25 people in here. That's a lot that went into there. It's a lot. Nothing, huh? That's all y'all got? That's it? Out of 26 people, that's all y'all got?
Well,
I think it crosses my mind.
Hold on. You got something right here. Hold on.
Speaking on her dying through her wickedness and her sons, just seeing how, living perversely or deliberately living out of the will of the Most High, not accepting his correction or his chastening, can really bring destruction upon your house and your children. And it just seeing this example really just shows how much that even though we know we're coming out of wickedness, out of sin, as being asleep or whatever, we supposed to be pressing toward the mark, so that we know and at least having that spirit, that when the Most High reveals sin unto us through his law, statutes, commandments, that we're supposed to begin to turn. And I just believe after seeing this, like after seeing what happens to her, even though we know that there's cursed, she's cursed. I mean that Canaan is cursed, but still, I still think to myself, like, I praise the Most High for a heart that's willing to turn, and not to just stay in my sin or to stay in a sin that I refuse to turn around from for whatever reason it may be.
Absolutely. I'm moving on. That being said, it's something where what I would press for people to understand is that in this situation, you're dealing with the issues with the Canaanite women, but this also applies to any unrighteous man or unrighteous woman. If you find yourself unequally, you entertaining being unequally yoked with someone that's perverse, wicked, and evil, this is what you have to look forward to.
Can I say more?
Go ahead.
It just makes me think, because time and time again, they did take the daughters of Canaan over and over and over again, and them being blessed from go, or, cursed from go, it makes me wonder, the path of Israel as a whole, had they never done that, had they, always 100% hearkened to Yah and never, gotten with a cursed seed, if some of the curses would have come upon Israel.
Great thought. All right, let's move on. Chapter 12. And after these things, while Tamar was a widow, she heard after 2 years, listen to this, take notes. She heard after 2 years that I was going up to shear my sheep, and adorned herself in bridal array, and sat in the city of Anaim by the gate. For it was a law of the Amorites that she who was about to marry should sit in fornication 7 days by the gate. Therefore, being drunk with wine, again, being drunk with wine, this brother right here, man, I did not recognize her, and her beauty deceived me through the fashion of her adorning. And I turned aside to her and said, let me go in unto thee. And she said, what wilt thou give me? And I gave her my staff and my girdle and the diadem of my kingdom in pledge. And I went in unto her, and she conceived. And not knowing what I had done, I wished to slay her, but she privily sent my pledges and put me to shame. And when I called her, I heard also the secret words which I spoke when lying with her in my drunkenness. And I could not slay her, because it was from Yah. For I said, lest happily she did it in subtlety, having received the pledge from another woman. But I came not again near her while I lived, because I had done this abomination in all Israel. Moreover, they who were in the city said there was no harlot in the gate, because she came from another place and sat for a while in the gate. I thought that no one knew that I had gone into her. And after this, we came into Egypt, Mitzrayim, to Joseph because of the famine. And I was 46 years old, and 73 years I lived in Egypt. I'm going to stop right there, open it up. Go ahead. What are your thoughts about that portion right there?
Man, he got to leave that. He got to put that drink down, man. It's causing him to sin and just do things out of order. That's what I see from this. He didn't learn his lesson the first time, so he's off that drink. So,
but he also knew what he was doing when he knew that he was drinking. He knew that,
right?
So he knew he was out of order at the end of the day.
Got you.
I'm going to say this real quick because it's just in my spirit right now. The mighty one of Israel was always with him, even when he was in his wickedness.
That's heavy.
So the mighty one of Israel saw him when he was doing wickedly. Imagine having to give account for that, because the Most High's eyes are watching whether you're righteous or you're wicked. So there's nothing done in secret that's not going to be uncovered.
It's true.
It's true. So he still got corrected no matter where he was at or what he was doing. He still was getting corrected.
I mean, eventually, he's doing what he's doing. He has to do, he has a choice to make, just like everybody else does. I'm just bringing the point out that the Most High sees you whether you're being righteous or wicked, whether you're doing great feats of strength or you're doing something wicked like going into prostitutes at the gate.
Real talk.
All right, someone had asked a question about the fornicating gate, or the gate of fornication. It was the custom of the Amorites to go ahead, and if you were a bride, think of it like some type of perverse type of, if you're not talking, mute yourself, please. So we're not hearing your background noise and dealing with trash cans. You're dealing with the custom of the Amorites that if you are wedded, you'd have to be in fornication 7 days at the gate. So literally you became a harlot for 7 days. It's like that was their custom. So like a bachelorette party where I guess you just humping on everything for 7 days and then you go into your husband. That's some wickedness. I don't know what that's about, but that's the answer to your question. All right. Moving on for time's sake. And now I command you, my children. Now he's talking to y'all, talking to me. And now I command you, my children, hearken to Yahudah your father. Keep my sayings to perform all the ordinance of Yahuwah and to obey the commands of Elohim. And walk not after your lusts. Walk not after your lusts, nor in the imaginations of your thoughts and haughtiness of heart. And glory not in the deeds and strength of your youth. Glory not in the deeds and strength of your youth, for this also is evil in the eyes of Yahuwah. Since I also glory that in wars no comely woman's face ever enticed me, and reproved Reuben, my brother, concerning Bilhah, the wife of my father, the spirits of jealousy and the fornication arrayed themselves against me, until I lay with Bathshua the Canaanite in Tamar, who was espoused to my sons. Oh my goodness. Man. Let that hit what he just said. Since I also gloried that in wars no woman's comely face ever enticed me, and I reproved Reuben, my brother, concerning Bilhah, the wife of my father, the spirits of jealousy and of fornication arrayed themselves against me, until I lay with Bathshua the Canaanite and Tamar, who was espoused to my sons. Y'all got to hear me today. For I said to my father-in-law, I will take counsel with my father, and so will I take thy daughter. And he was unwilling, but he showed me a boundless store of gold in his daughter's behalf. For he was a king, and he adorned her with the gold and pearls, and caused her to pour out wine for us at the feast with the beauty of women. And the wine turned aside my eyes, and pleasure blinded my heart, and I became enamored of, and I lay with her, and transgressed the commandment of Yahuwah and the commandment of my fathers, and I took her to wife. And Yahuwah rewarded me according to the imagination of my heart, insomuch as I had no joy in her children. Ah, man. Talk to me, y'all. What's your thoughts? Y'all gotta work with me here. What are your thoughts?
Many of us can relate.
Made an example out of,
you know,
like a
Y'all
lot of
jump
what we've
in.
been.
Come on, jump in.
He said he had no joy in the children at all either.
In her children.
Woo! That's deep.
It's deep.
That's
Jump
deep.
right in. Let's
He
go.
didn't even blame him.
It's unmuted.
Oh,
It's almost like that first one that David lost after he had committed his transgression. You know what I mean?
hallelujah.
That's what it's reminiscent of.
I look at this and I see that the true reason why Grandpa Judah was even enticed by her, or even thought to marry her, was because her father was a king. She had plenty of money and bread, and he was looking at her wealth. So that enticed him to marry her. And I see that happen the same day today. You got brothers who are looking at these white girls who got this money, refuse to take a daughter or sister, you know what I'm saying, because they'll rather marry into a family that got more wealth or more power in that way. And I see a lot of brothers fall into the same thing.
Yeah, it's like they're married up or something.
Man.
All right, so I'm just gonna guess that this is hitting y'all too hard. Y'all can't talk on the subject. We got 20-something folks up in here, and y'all slack.
Well, can you hear me out?
Now go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, somebody called me, so my mind. But yeah, I was just saying, I was reading the Testaments of Judah a while ago, and I was able to relate a lot because I know when I was in the world, and just seeing what drunkenness and how that really can just deceive you and have you doing things that you probably wouldn't even do if you with a clear head. So just seeing that our forefathers, like Judah, like we all, even to this day, that's like our biggest weakness when it comes to women, and then when we start getting drunk, it just really leads us down the wrong path. So I feel like we all can learn from that.
Good stuff. Anybody else?
Yeah, the part that hit me is when he was talking about basically how he was puffed up in his youth and his exploits, and the spirits were just waiting. They were like, all right, I see
Got
you.
something for you. Yeah, got something for you.
I'll wait. I'm patient. I've got
man.
So, and then they're like, aha, I got you. And I mean, generations suffered for that, So that arrogance, that
man.
pride. So
the pride of Judah, right?
Yeah.
Y'all already know I'll be beating it down. Judah, we are a prideful people. We're a prideful and arrogant people. And here we got our forefather telling you from jump. He's talking to us today. Don't pride in the exploits of your youth. Because he did those things and prided himself on that, no beautiful face was going to go ahead and seduce me or entice me away in the time of war. And I even corrected, think about it, I even corrected my brother for what he did to Bilhah. But my pride, those spirits of fornication and lust and jealousy seduced him to laying with Bathsheba the Canaanite and getting with Tamar like he did. Man.
Well, it's
go ahead.
Sorry, it's clear, we talk about, we are our fathers, we are our father's seed, but I don't think people really understand. I mean, we talk, generations later, King Dawid, like literally fell into some of the same traps. He had the strength of Judah. He fought the lion and the bear and, did great exploits, but then he also fell to lust, the same traps that his father did. And so for some of us to think that we're like immune to that, obviously not. Clearly we're not
generational curse.
Yeah.
Listen, on that note, you got to recognize something. The fall of Judah happened with King Dawid. Literally, because of what he did with Bathsheba, his house, his bait was thrown into chaos. He lost, total debauchery, perversion, wickedness descended upon his house. Murder, violence, just absolute chaos hounded him for the rest of his life. From that incident, messing with Uriah the Hittite's woman, the whole house of Judah fell off King David. From King David to King Solomon to the split of the kingdom to now being a northern kingdom versus a southern kingdom.
Yep.
Northern kingdom, nothing but wicked kings.
Yep.
Southern kingdom, gotta be a remnant, so back and forth. And then the infighting, and the infighting that began all the way back with Dawid doing what he did that brought that chaos to his house. It just kept going generation all the way through. Man.
Oh, it continues to this day. Continues to this day with us.
Which is exactly why we have to, repent for the sins of our fathers, right? Not just us, because we're still paying for that, even all the way back to Judah, because, he kind of, so I repent for the sins of my fathers and my sins.
Hallelujah.
And get that mess out of you, man, because your enemy knows how to come at you. As you read through the book, you'll see so many times that this is the method. This is the way they get down. This is the way that they get the men of Judah and other Israelite men to bend to their will or to fall into their plan.
All right, y'all, let's keep going. We got to keep moving. We got more to go. But I need y'all to pull with me to add your 2 cents to the topic of conversation, so we're not sitting here for 30 seconds waiting on folks breathing. All right. Chapter 14. Now, my children, I say unto you, be not drunk with wine, for wine turns the mind away from the truth and inspires the passions of lust, leads the eyes into error. For the spirit of fornication hath wine as a minister, to give pleasure to the mind. My goodness, for these two also take away the mind of a man. For if a man drink wine to drunkenness, it disturbeth the mind with filthy thoughts, leading to fornication, and heateth the body to carnal union. And if the occasion of the lust be present, he worketh the sin and is not even ashamed. Such is the inebriated man, my children. For he who is drunken reverences no man. For lo, it made me also to err, so that I was not ashamed. I was not ashamed of a great sin. And I uncovered the covering of my son's shame. Thus going back to what Ham did with Noah, uncovering the nakedness of his father. After I had drunk wine, I reverenced not the commandment of Elohim, and I took a woman of Canaan to wife. For much discretion needeth the man who drinketh wine, my children, and herein is discretion in drinking wine. A man may drink so long as he preserveth modesty, but if he go beyond this limit, the spirit of deceit attacks his mind, maketh the drunkard to talk filthily, to transgress, and not to be ashamed, but even to glory in his shame, and to account himself honorable. All right, y'all. What's your thoughts? Jump in, please, so we can
Well,
do this.
Just as they say that alcohol, liquor weakens the immune system, it truly weakens the spirit also. And I feel that when our spirit is weakened, of course, it pulls us away from Yeshua. And then it calls and it just opens the door, as you all were mentioning, it opens the door for sin to come in our life and to wreak havoc in our lives, in our families, in our thought process, in every aspect of our life. And then it just grows. And I've always said that when sin comes in, when one sin comes in, then it's going to invite another sin, and then it's going to invite their brother's sin, and so on and so forth. That it just grows and grows, and the next thing you know, and then of course this is rolling over and spilling over into your family. This is spilling over into your kids, and then you have this just being brought up in sin, and it comes a time where and I feel that because in my family, in my immediate family growing up, they drank on the weekends. They drank and got drunk on the weekends. And then there's this chaos. And then of course this rolls over to me that I think that, oh, this is supposed to be the way of life. Oh, but for the glory of Yeshua who brought me out of that. But then there's still this fight and all this work and cleanup that has to be done from the damage. It's got to stop.
Absolutely.
It's got to stop.
Absolutely.
The damage of being just pulled away from a drink and just having our mind not stayed and focused on the Most High. Wow.
I mean,
Hallelujah.
just jump in. Somebody jump in. Good
Yeah,
point, sis. Good point, sis.
You
It's
can call it spirits for a reason. I mean, it's like
There-
sin lets in the when you sin, then that's when you let, you know, demonic force and Hasatan in to have his influence. And that's kind of, as I'm listening to that, I'm like, man, always with this wine and the perversion of your judgment, like them spirits really do get in there. That's probably why it calls it. You look on the bottle, sometimes it says spirits, and I'm like, man, how many different stories throughout humanity, especially us, do we have where we just kind of let ourselves be taken away by this thing? Like as you just mentioned with that limit, once you exceed that limit, not only do you sin and error, but you so perverted and polluted that you actually boast in it.
Yeah.
Polluted.
I feel like you gotta self-check yourself. You know what I'm saying? You gotta do a self-evaluation. You know, and if that's a problem in your life, you gotta cut that out. You know what I'm saying? You gotta look and see.
But look at the deception also. But see, they made it legal.
Yes,
They made it legal, and now look at the new deception. The new deception with cannabis.
Yeah.
They've made it legal to deceive us and keep us off track and keep us bound.
Right. People got to understand that weed is one of those drugs that does that to you. It kind of it weakens your spirit. So that's why I tell people, you know, don't indulge in it. You know what I mean? Because that's another one of those things that will get you.
They legalize it not for health purposes. They legalize it for a reason.
Recreation.
Okay, for a reason against us.
And in the Bible, it's actually given for a health reason. Over in the book of Timothy, it says, when you have ye stomach issues, take ye a little wine. So I can understand why it says what it says in 14:8 right here, when it says, but if he exceeds the limit, air invades and his mind becomes drunk. It seems like there's balance in everything, you know?
Yes.
Fermentation is a natural process, and the fermentation process has a purpose, but when it's not appropriated and taken out of order, that's when you have problems.
Right.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the focus was not so much on the wine drinking, but the focus was on the actions that come after the wine drinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, after drinking excessive wine, here comes fornication, and also anguish, like you know, you're argumentative or just having this boisterous spirit, because I know, you know, after drinking, getting a little full, that you tend to get a little boisterous, and you don't feel that you don't have that same heat, that discerning of heeding to the Most High Spirit and all that when you're under that influence. So yeah, I was the fornication or the acts of drinking too much wine, to me, was the main focus. But like a lot of you guys were saying, just being drinking out of excess, and keeping everything in very moderation, to not go beyond that limit to where you're being deceived and you're being attacked, you're being led away in the spirit after having a glass of wine. You know what I'm saying?
Listen. Leave that drink alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just leave it alone. Just leave it alone.
Listen. Y'all about to make me go off. Listen. I'm trying to be good on this thing. I'm trying to be good. Listen. It's 2020, y'all. This book is ancient. And we dealing with the same problems right now.
Come on now.
To this day.
Listen. Leave the drink alone.
That's wisdom.
Leave the drink alone. Drink a drink. Juicy lipping. Leave it alone. Period. I mean, we don't got the greatest track record with the drink. In general principle, yeah, we should be able to have balance and like, okay, that's cool. Nah. Judah got a problem. Drinking all that drink and then becomes the filthiness of the mind.
That's right.
Leading into fornication and lust and perversion.
Yep.
Your mind has been seduced away. How do you know when your limit is? When you've gone beyond your limit and you ensnared?
Yeah.
And that's deep.
How many folks got liver damage because they've been drinking? They drank. They liver shot to hell because they've been drinking.
Oh man.
Y'all, I'm trying to hold back. How many of y'all online, I'm talking about y'all, how many of y'all online got you some babies because you was juicy lipping and slipping and got you some random whatever, and now you got 4 or 5 kids because you don't got no self-control? All right, let's move on. I can't. This is Judah talking to Judah right now.
Girl.
Let's go on. Chapter 15. He that committeth fornication is not aware when he suffers loss, and is not ashamed when put to dishonor. For even though a man be a king and commit fornication, he is stripped of his kingship by becoming the slave of fornication, as I myself also suffered. For I gave my staff, y'all, I gave my staff. That is the stay of my tribe.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
In my girdle, that is my power. In my diadem, that is the glory of my kingdom. And I indeed, I repented of these things. Wine and flesh I eat not until my old age, nor did I behold any joy. For the angel, Malach Yahuwah, the angel of Elohim, showed me that forever do women bear rule over king.
Wow.
King and beggar alike. And from the king they take away his glory, and from the valiant man his might, and from the beggar even the little which he has, which is the stay of his poverty. I can't, y'all. I can't. Talk to me.
Wow.
Listen.
15:6.
Listen. Judah got a problem with the drink.
Yes.
Judah got a problem with fornication and lust.
And the
They
strength
still
of
do.
women.
And they still do.
That's our biggest downfall right there. The King Solomon.
How many of Judah got issues with pornography to this day?
A lot.
Whole bunch.
Yeah, a lot.
Whole bunch of Judah.
The mainstay.
And they know you have the
for
problems
most
when they
people.
put it out there.
Oh man.
Being snared.
Yep.
Yep. It's crazy. It's another part of the trap.
Talk to me, y'all.
Yeah, you can if you could conquer your flesh, like if you could conquer your fleshly desire, you could conquer anything. Because that's like really one of the toughest battles that, people in the flesh commit. And I feel like just using that energy, putting that energy elsewhere, you know what I mean? And not on, if we gotta not look at Instagram, because it's everywhere we go. Like lust is everywhere. I can't even go. I had to unfollow. You gotta unfollow people on Instagram. You gotta not tune into certain things because they're trying to take your eyes. They're trying to take your spirit. You know what I mean? Like it's everywhere out here. It's crazy.
So it's not just men who have that issue.
Absolutely.
Women have it too.
That's
true. Something that I've had to deal with myself. So it is not just men who have it.
That's true.
That's upside.
They know
upside
exactly.
down
They know
the other,
exactly
oh
what
my
to do.
God.
They know.
And then you have a lot of women, the women of Judah, being the seducers of our men. A lot of our women are the downfall of, who come across this drink.
We got work to do.
Right.
Yeah, we do. We do.
I mean, really, this should be introduced to our kids at a young age, actually, because You know, had you known this before you start jumping out into the world, you know, yeah, that's what you said earlier. They took the books away, so we could not see this and protect ourselves and our seed.
Because our parents didn't teach us, the grandparents didn't teach
No,
them.
our parents were like, hey, go, you know, my dad was like, listen, just don't bring them home pregnant, you know, go get all you can get. I was like, okay. I'm with you,
That was
Dad.
pretty much, that was pretty much what Pop said, but that was after the fact. You know what I'm saying? That was like long after the fact. I didn't get that sit down before I was old enough to.
All right, so I gotta hurry up. I know I gotta hurry up. Let's get with it. Chapter 16. Observe therefore, my children, the right limit in wine, for there are in it 4 evil spirits of lust. Write this down. Of lust, of hot desire, of profligacy, which is recklessness, without regard to the consequences, and of filthy lucre. If you drink wine in gladness, be ye modest in the fear of Elohim. For if in your gladness the fear of Elohim departeth, then drunkenness ariseth, and shamelessness stealeth in. But if you would live soberly, do not touch wine at all, Negro. Lest ye sin in words of outrage and in fightings and slander and transgressions of the commandments of Elohim, and you perish before your time. How many black men, Hebrew Israelites, have perished before their time because they are on the sippy sip, dranky drink?
Too many,
countless.
Yeah.
Man, this is deep, man.
Moreover, wine revealeth the mysteries of Elohim and men, even as I revealed the commandments of Elohim and the mysteries of Jacob my father to the Canaanitish woman Bathsheba, which Elohim bade me not to reveal. Hello, let's do that again. Moreover, wine revealeth the mysteries of Elohim. You can't keep your mouth shut. And men, even as I also revealed the commandments of Elohim and the mysteries of Jacob, my father, to the Canaanitish woman Bathsheba, which Elohim bade me not to reveal. And wine is the cause. It's a cause both of war and confusion. And now I command you, my children, not to love money, nor to gaze upon the beauty of women, because for the sake of money and beauty, I was led astray to Bathsheba the Canaanite. Man, for I know that because of these 2 things shall my race fall into wickedness.
Yeah. He said it right there.
He kind of learned a lot on the back end.
For even wise men among my sons shall they mar, and shall cause the kingdom of Judah to be diminished, which Yahuwah gave me because of my obedience to my father, for I never caused grief to Jacob, my father. For all things whatsoever he commanded I did, and Isaac, the father of my father, blessed me to be king in Israel. And Jacob further blessed me in like manner, and I know that from me shall the kingdom be established. Man, what are your thoughts? I'm trying to get through this, y'all. What are your thoughts?
Man, he's saying it right there. He's saying that the tribe is going to be they're going to be affected by this decision that I made.
Block.
Oh,
it's going to be a stumbling block throughout the years, and we see that now.
Yep.
Generational.
Generational curse for real. When you said it makes sense, that makes before we got into this, you didn't want to like allude to nothing. I think I had that eureka moment listening to all this, because this is pretty much what I was hearing when I was reading Reuben at the start of this 12 Patriarchs PDF. He's saying a lot of the same stuff and talking about how you get these 7 to 8 spirits upon being born. And the first 7, it's like each spirit has a spirit attached to it. Like they're talking about like with the sixth one, I think, or the fourth one, like is taste, which gives you food and drink, because food and drink brings nourishment. But then that leads to desire and and you start seeing them pitfalls. He's saying the same thing. Stay away from liquor if you can't. Be modest with it. And lust. He's saying the same. Ruben's saying the same thing. Lust and liquor is the stumbling block of his life, and he's begging his children on his deathbed to steer clear of it.
I like how 16:3 says it, man, because we're going back and forth, but it says, but if you wish to live prudently, abstain completely from drinking in order that you might not be led to sin and loot. I've never seen it put that way. I've seen the one where it says strong drink leads to brawl and wine is folly. And I've always wanted something stronger to support my stance. And I'm glad we're reading this, man, because 16:3 says it. It says that if you desire to live prudently, and which we all should desire to live prudently, abstain completely. I like that.
Well, and it's the same words that the Apostle Shaul said. You know, he warns the people under him all the time. You know, stay away from these things. Keep your mouth clean from, you know, outrage and infightings and slanders over and over again. And he warns them, you know, don't get drunk.
Yeah, hallelujah.
And a woman's beauty.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Wow,
Hallelujah.
Yeah, that part I had highlighted. For I know that because of these two things shall my race fall into wickedness. That's hard right there.
Hey, I'm just shaking my head right now. I mean, listen, this is our problem, man. This is our issue as a people. Like, we got to take heed to these things. We really do. I mean, it's almost too much. It hits so hard. You know it's talking about you. You know it's talking about us.
Right.
All right, let's keep going. Go ahead. Whoever that was.
Oh, I was just going to say, because it's something just came to mind. When we go out on every street corner, you have the stores, the liquor stores. And these are the people that are selling the liquor. And the Bible also speaks about, you know, don't cause your brother to fall. But we have people that set up liquor stores in our neighborhoods.
I have no idea what just happened. That was deep. Right. Hey, somebody turn your microphone, your speaker down. You got it blazing too high. Turn your speaker down so it's not feeding back into your microphone. And then you can go ahead and speak.
Can I add to what Sis was saying?
Listen, whoever got that microphone, speaker blaze up, they got to blaze down. Turn your speaker down, then you can speak. Your speaker is feeding back into the microphone you got. I'm down to hear what you got to say, but just turn your speaker down, or put some earbuds in.
Okay, I did. Is that better?
No, it wasn't you. It was somebody else.
Shalom. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Am I good? Am I echoing?
No, it was somebody else that caused that.
Okay. All right. So I was gonna land back on what she was saying about the liquor stores. So we see who's selling the liquor. It's either Ishmael or the Asians or the Moabs. You know what I'm saying? So you see our enemy is continuing.
Correction. Asian folks are not Moab, but go ahead.
Well, my bad. Well, you see a lot of the Ishmael in the stores selling us the liquor and selling, you know, and that's all I wanted to say is that, you know.
And also correction, those are white Arab converts, not Ishmael. But I feel what you're saying.
All right, well, thanks for the correction.
Are you sure? Because you keep cutting them off.
I'm absolutely sure.
You keep following along.
I'm absolutely sure.
He don't even want to finish what he was saying anymore.
No, he good. He good. I mean, Uncle T.
Yeah, he's done. He don't even want to say what he was going to say.
So here's the thing. Be careful, number one. All right. And it's something that when you have a platform like this, which you may have one day, you're responsible for the information that's put out. Period. Don't get in your feelings. It's just a matter of the reality. When you are on a platform like this that goes out to many people, you have to make sure you're putting out the right information. And for me as a moray, okay, who's responsible for even what things you guys say and what you don't say, but especially the things you do say, If I do not correct what's being said, I'm complicit in the error that goes on. And I know my brother Eliah, I know his heart, I know what he's trying to say. That being said, I still have to correct. I don't care who you are, I'm going to correct you on this platform that the Most High has given me. All right? So that's just what it comes down to. That's a responsibility that everyone that's in a level of leadership and position, even for you in your own house, must do.
There's a way to do it. You don't cut somebody off mid-sentence 2 and 3 times. Why don't you let them finish their thought? And then after they finish their thought, then you say, okay, I just want to clarify a couple of things on what you said.
Okay.
You don't sit there and keep cutting them off.
Okay. Are you done?
Yeah, he done.
Okay. Again, trust. Y'all that know me, know I don't play. All right. I know we're in some deep discussions. It's emotional, but have some self-control and discipline about yourself. Okay. And that's all I'll say about that. All right.
You good, Ark. Thank you. Thank you for that correction, though. I appreciate that.
No, it's good. You know I know you. We talk every day. All right, let's get into this. And the bottom line is the point you're making is that you see about the enemies of Israel, what they do to make sure they perpetrate that amongst us.
Yes.
That's a serious problem. The enemies of Israel want to make sure they keep pushing that drink on the people. All right. So let's get into this so we can finish up. Chapter 18. And I know what evils you will do in the last days. Beware, therefore, my children, of fornication and the love of money, and hearken to Yahudah your father, for these things withdraw you from the law of Elohim, and blind the inclination of the soul, and teach arrogance, and suffer not a man to have compassion upon his neighbor. They rob his soul of all goodness, and oppress him with toils and troubles, and drive away sleep from him, and devour his flesh. And he hindereth the sacrifices of Elohim. That's crazy. And he remembereth not the blessing of Elohim. He hearkeneth not to a prophet when he speaketh, and resents the words of godliness. For he is a slave to 2 contrary passions, and cannot obey Elohim, because they have blinded his soul, and he walketh in the day as in the night. My children, the love of money leadeth to idolatry, because when led astray through money, men name as Elohim those who are not Elohim, and it causeth him who hath it to fall into madness. For the sake of money I lost my children, and had not my repentance, and my humiliation, and the prayers of my father been accepted, I should have died childless. But the Elohim of my fathers had mercy on me, because I did it in ignorance. And the prince of deceit blinded me, and I sinned as a man, and as flesh, being corrupted through sins. And I learnt my own weakness while thinking myself invincible. Wow. Jeez. What are your thoughts on that?
That's deep. That's heavy.
I appreciate how he told the why and what the results of these actions are, as opposed to just saying, don't do this. Because there's a lot of times when we're told what's right and what's wrong, and to either do it or not, and we don't get the why. But it talks about in 18:4, where they deprive his soul of all goodness and oppress him of hardships. And it basically sounds like it's making it difficult for that connection between you and the Father to be what it's supposed to be.
Also, I I always tell people young and dumb goes hand in hand. And so he was young and ignorant of what could happen when all this, the drinking and the fornication and stuff that's happening, because he was young when he was doing all this. And as he got old, then he remembers that this all should not have been.
And it's painful to see, this is one of the greatest patriarchs that we have. And to see how his life ended and the regrets that he had and the almost everlasting, consequences that are from this. I mean, and it's sad to see that just from, yes, the drink and all of that was there, but it's really, not hearkening to the word of Yah, right? If you break from his Torah, if you break from his commands, you have consequences. Now he had mercy on him. He listened to his father. He heard his father's pleas. He didn't die childless. But one of the greatest patriarchs we had a kind of miserable life, especially towards the end, where he didn't drink wine, he didn't eat meat, he, repented basically the rest of his life. And it's just painful to hear his words and to see the very real consequences of not hearkening to the word of Yah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it kind of shows the consequences of sin. Yeah, he may have repented, but there are still the consequences of our actions, even though we repent.
Exactly.
It reminds me of, my own life experiences, or, how not walking, and like you said, only said, following the ways of the Torah, not walking, with Yeshua, and you hit a brick wall. You hit a brick wall, and something or some things in life will happen, that'll get you to that point. Something in life is going to happen, but it's not always a bad thing when something happens, because that's what can bring you back, to get you back in the Lord's graces, I feel. And for me anyway, and it enabled me to be to have a stronger and a more strengthened walk with Yeshua today, though. So, for some, it's not necessarily always the worst thing that can happen. Sometimes these things need to happen so that he can draw us in closer. I'm speaking for myself, so that he can draw us in closer, but also allow us to go through some things so that he can also use us at a later time. Anyway, but yeah, you'll hit a brick wall, basically.
Hey, y'all, great points. Go ahead. You can go. I'm gonna try to speed through the next couple of these chapters here, but go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, and people have the wrong thought that, oh, I'm blessed, so I'm kind of free from consequences from anything bad happening in my life. Yahudah was blessed. He was blessed. The kingship is still through his lineage. Many multitudes of children. That whole thing, that blessing still carried on, but very real and harsh consequences still came to him, to us, through all the descendants. So just being blessed of Yah does not mean you are free from consequences.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else before I speak through these next 4 chapters or sections?
Hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Tell if my mic is on or not. I was thinking too that what we see here with Yahudah is he was blessed when he was under supervision, and then when he was not with supervision, that's when he made his transgression, or when he was under the assumption of not having supervision. And as a child, you're under supervision and reproof. And then as you grow older, through your obedience or your disobedience, you gain blessings. And so he gained those blessings. And then when he got his freedom and he didn't have that eye on him anymore, then he transgressed what he knew. And you see it evolve as he grows older.
Hey, brother, that was a great point. Great point.
Yeah, verse 5 is very powerful. And he hinders the sacrifices of Elohim, and he remembers not the blessing of Elohim, and he hearkens not to the prophet when he speaks, and resents the words of righteousness. That's like 99% of Israel right now. You know, they are not, you know, when we give a sacrifice of praise, they call it churchy. You know, they don't remember the blessings that Elohim has given us so far, and they say, oh, well, you know, my job gave me that, or this, or even, Yah forbid, attribute it to some other Elohim. They don't listen to the prophets of today when they are speaking, and they resent the words of the righteous because now, you know, they call us evil and the wickedness of this world good. It's 5 is powerful.
Man, listen, amazing. Great point, sis. Great points. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and power through these next couple chapters. If you got something pressing you want to say, go ahead and say it right now, regardless of what we just read. I'm gonna try to get us out of here and get through these scripts. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and power on through. Let's do it. 20. Know therefore, my children, that 2 spirits wait upon man, the spirit of truth and the spirit of deceit. And in the midst is the spirit of understanding of the mind, to which it belongeth to turn whatsoever it will. And the works of truth and the works of deceit are written upon the hearts of men, and each one of them Yah knows. And there is no time at which the works of men can be hid, for on the heart itself have they been written down before Yah. And the spirit of truth testifies all things and accuseth all, and the sinner is burnt up by his own heart and cannot raise its face to the judge. Now, my children, I command you, love Levi, that you may abide, and exalt not yourself against him, lest ye be utterly destroyed. For to me Yah gave the kingdom, and to him the priesthood, and he set the kingdom beneath the priesthood. To me he gave the things upon the earth, to him the things in the Shamayim, or the heavens. As for the heaven is higher than the earth, so is the priesthood of Elohim higher than the earthly kingdom, unless it falls away through the sin from Yah, and is dominated by the earthly kingdom. For Malach Yahuwah said unto me, Yah chose him rather than thee, to draw near to him, and to eat of his table, and to offer him the first fruits of the choice things of the sons of Israel. But you shall be the king of Yaakov. And thou shalt be among them as the sea, for as on the sea just and unjust are tossed about, some taken into captivity, while some are enriched. So also shall every race of men be in thee. Some shall be impoverished, being taken captive, and others grow rich by plundering the possessions of others. For the king shall be as sea monsters, they shall swallow men like fish. The sons and daughters of free men shall they enslave. Houses, land, flocks, money shall they plunder, and with the flesh of many shall they wrongfully feed the ravens and the cranes. And they shall advance in evil and covetousness uplifted, and there shall be false prophets like tempests, and they shall persecute all righteous men, and Yah shall bring upon them divisions against one another. And there shall be continual wars in Israel, and among men of another race shall my kingdom be brought to an end. I'm going to say that again. And there shall be continual wars in Israel, and among men of another race shall my kingdom be brought to an end, until the salvation of Israel shall come, until the appearing of Elohim of righteousness, that Yaakov may rest in peace. And he shall guard that might of my kingdom forever. And Yahuwah sware to me with an oath that he would not destroy the kingdom from my seed forever. Now I have much grief, my children, because of your lewdness and witchcraft and idolatries, which you shall practice against the kingdom, following them that have familiar spirits, diviners, demons of error. You shall make your daughters singing girls and harlots, and you shall mingle in the abominations of Gentiles. For which things sake Yah shall bring upon you famine and pestilence, death and the sword. beleaguering by enemies and reviling of friends, the slaughter of children, the rape of wives, the plundering of possessions, the burning of the temple of Elohim, the laying waste of the land, the enslavement of yourselves among the Gentiles, and they shall make some of you eunuchs for their wives, until Yah visit you, when with perfect heart you repent and walk in all his commandments, and he bring you up from the captivity among the Gentiles. And after these things shall a star rise to you from Jacob in peace, and a man shall arise from my seed like the Son of righteousness, walking with the sons of men in meekness and righteousness, and no sin shall be found in him. And the heavens shall be opened unto him to pour out the Spirit, even the blessing of the Holy Father. And he shall pour out the Spirit of grace upon you, and he shall be unto him, you shall be unto him sons in truth, and you shall walk in his commandments first and last, the branch of Elohim Most High, and the fountain giving life unto all. Then shall the scepter of my kingdom shine forth, and from your root shall arise a stem, and from it shall grow a rod of righteousness to the Gentiles, to judge and to save all that call upon Yah. And after these things shall Abraham and Isaac and Jacob arise into life, and I and my brethren shall be chiefs of the tribes of Israel. Levi first, I the second, third Benjamin, fourth Simeon, fifth Issachar sixth, and so all in order. And Yah bless Levi, and the angel of the presence me, the powers of glory Simeon, the Shamayim or heaven Reuben, the earth Issachar, the sea Zebulun, the mountains Yosef, the tabernacle Benjamin, the luminaries Dan, Eden Naphtali, the sun Gad, the moon Asher. And you shall be the people of Yah, and have one tongue, and there shall be there no spirit of deceit of Belial, for he shall cast into the fire forever. And they who have died in grief shall arise in joy, and they who were poor for Yah's sake shall be made rich, and they who are put to death for Yah's sake shall awake to life. And the hearts of Yaakov shall run in joyfulness, and the eagles of Israel shall fly in gladness, and all the people shall glorify in Yah forever. Observe therefore, my children, all the law of Yah, for there is hope for all them who hold a fast unto his ways. And he said unto them, behold, I die before your eyes this day, 119 years old. Let no one bury me in costly apparel, nor tear up my bowels, for this shall they who are kings do. And bear me up to Hebron with you. And Judah, when he had said these things, fell asleep, and his sons did according to all whatsoever he commanded them, and they buried him in Hebron with his fathers. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Wow. All right, y'all. Go ahead.
Hallelujah.
Dig into that, and then we'll close out in prayer. Go ahead, have at it.
So what I saw was he was basically telling his sons what's going to happen to them in the future, what's happening to us now. You know, that's what I got out of that, and how we're going to come out of this, and how the Most High is gonna come. He's going to get us. Hold on, I'm trying to read some of this. But yeah, that's what I got out of that. And he's talking about the scepter. He's talking about how yeah, hold on. Sorry, y'all. I'm just reading through here again. Yeah. So that's it. Basically, he's basically telling the children what's going to happen to them. So that's what I picked up.
Anybody else?
Yeah, it's a huge contrast between the pain, the torment, the misery, the murder, all of the things, in the hands of men, the things that men, will do, versus, the majority of that was horrible to read. And then you get to the end where Yah takes things back into his hands. He's like, okay, even though y'all did all of this, and it seems horrible, and it seems like you have no future, no hope, here I come, your Savior, to set everything right, to give you something to be joyful about, to give you something to praise me for, and just thank Yah for him, because all of that, the murdering of children, the raping of women, that whole thing that Yahudah just prophesied, that was given to him, was absolutely just gut-wrenching. But praise Yah for his salvation, because without it, we would be destitute.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, well said. I was trying to say it like that too. Well said, sis. That's it right there.
Another commonality I see with this one and with the story of David after he did what he did, he cried, and he went through some stages and some phases and some places where you could see he had a contrite heart and a spirit of a very strong repentance. And I see a lot of that here also. And it encourages me for the things that have been sin in my life and the sins of my ancestors. I need to go a little harder. I need to repent a little harder and draw a little closer and realize the things of the past for what they actually are, and not make as light of it as what it is.
On that note, I could say the same. Like I've always heard the term generational curse, and I kind of think sometimes like what your parents don't deal with either falls on your lap or they have to deal with it through you. And listening to Judah's story and all of that, what he went through, on the one hand, it almost reminds me of Yahusha, where he was blameless, but because he went through all of the problems that we have, he knew that we had to have somebody that, something tangible to deal with. And it's like, listening to all of this stuff, like I really wish that we could impart this to us, have this imparted to us and impart it to the future and to the younger generations, because this is like, we're still going through this tough. These is like some real stumbling blocks that to this day, like I'm listening to that, and like lust personally was a huge stumbling block for me. And if I ever feel like I'm being tempted, the enemy knows that that's one of the biggest ones. And now I can totally see where that's coming from. Not saying that I'm righteous or anything like that, but like, dude, you are caught up in a landslide. You're one rock halfway down the hill. There was, like, so you're right. We really do need to go harder on the repentance for their sins and to stay in the Most High, because this is something that's bigger than your life. This has got some momentum behind it.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
So in 25:2, and Yahuwah blessed Levi, and the angel of the presence me. So would that be Yahusha, since Yahusha comes through the lineage of Yahudah?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
So Malak of the presence is Yeshua.
Okay,
Or it's the word of Yah.
Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to add to that the fact that now that those of us who are in the awakening and now we're reading this testimony, it kind of puts it on us now to make sure that we reach the youth and instill these values in our youth so that they do not do the sins of the fathers and the mothers. So it's imperative that we somehow get to our youth and have them listen.
Hallelujah. And
Hallelujah.
I kind of two things, like one question, and I just want to touch on that what you was just saying, sis. Like, I was one of them kids where, I'm not saying I was a good kid, but I didn't get in a whole lot of trouble as much as like my sister did. But I needed things, and a part of the reason what made me want to be good was when my mom sat me down and told me why I was wrong and made me explain myself, or made me understand, like, instead of just beating you over the head with what you should and shouldn't do, but why this is the wrong thing to do and this is the right thing to do. And it cultivated that shame that you feel when you disappoint them. And to hear him, just like, I want to say that was Akbusi mentioned earlier, like, he's not just saying that don't do this, don't do that, don't do that. He's telling you, I went through it. This is what that brings. So it's almost like a bridge across a stumbling block or across a pitfall for you, to have it spelled out for you, because really you can't, by today's standards, looking at them ancient times, you can't, I don't know if that's my mic echoing like that. I apologize. You can't argue with it. It's still valid. And yeah, that's one thing that I would hope that we'd be able to impart to the youth is, you know, sometimes it helps to have some sort of insight into what it is that you're trying to keep people to steer clear from. And two, the question was, for the whole musician thing, it was like, otherwise my text is a little different than yours, More. It was saying like, otherwise they'll become common women and musicians. Like, what's this thing with musicians? Is that like like supposed to be something like a siren or a temptress, or?
It's more in line with for the ritualistic practices of seduction.
Okay.
That's what it comes down to. So, singing songs of seduction and harlotry to turn to harlotry. It's just it's all in the vein of lust and fornication.
And I was thinking the exact same thing that Don brought out earlier about how, you know, we need to be reading this to our kids. And that's exactly right. You know, the difference that it would make, not everybody, you know, you're going to have your rebels. You're going to have those that it doesn't matter what. School of Hard Knocks is the way they're going to have to live. But, you know, had we all had this when we were younger, you know, the difference that it would make, which is exactly why, you know, they took them out, right? Like we can't let them know this, you know, we can't give this in the 66 because, oh my gosh, they might read this and they might actually correct themselves and their children. But this is just so powerful, you know, not to say that the 66 aren't great, you know, but the wisdom that you get from these personal accounts of our fathers is just invaluable.
Right. It speaks to you. It speaks to you, and it's something like, I would say, like, I'm 12, 13 years old, male or female, this is what's going down. You got to get into this so you understand. I would probably say at the earliest, maybe 11, depending on your child, 11, 12, 13, to start to get them to meditate on these things so that they can start making wise decisions. Because especially nowadays when they got little friends that are getting into all kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, let me show you, Billy, you know, some stuff. And it's like, no, you know what I mean? Trying to get them ensnared in different things and, you know, come over to the house and, I got a bottle of the brandy under my parents' kitchen sink. You know what I'm saying? Bottle of Corbel, you know what I mean? Like, no, we got to impart this to our children, as was the tradition and the reason why these things were passed down from his time till now. They tried to cut us off from our history, but it's time to recapture our heritage.
Yeah, my boys are 12 and 13 just as of this week, and
There you
please
go.
believe they're going to get this education.
Absolutely.
No, that's right.
All right. Anybody else? I know I read a lot there to close out. I don't want to hold you guys here much longer, but again, we got about 25 people here on. Jump in. This is your time to impart some wisdom of what you understood and took from the script, especially those of you that have not said anything thus far.
To me, it just seems like, and I don't have children, but and those of you who do, but to me, it just seems like kids get exposed to so much so early that to me, it just seems like you need to start earlier than 10 years old with this.
I'll, not to be TMI, but like I start finding tapes of that belong to my pops that I probably should have been, and I was only 10. And I'll say from about 10 years old to I'm 39 now. I literally stopped and got rid of that at 39, 38 years old. It took me that long to get over that. So 10 is not too early for some kids. Just, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
There's a scripture in 23, and it's the fifth verse, and it speaks to the right here, right now. I just wanted to bring this one out. Until you return to the Lord in integrity of heart, penitent and living according to all of the Most High's commands, then the Most High will be concerned for you in mercy and will free you from the captivity under your enemies. That's part of this end times recipe. And according to what I'm looking at, this is some of the things that we should be plugging in and applying to the right now in order to get that result.
Right.
Hallelujah.
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 All right, y'all. I think y'all are worn out. I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. I do appreciate those of you that decided to do this. I'm gonna go ahead and close this out in prayer. Again, appreciate every last one of you. But yeah, thank you for this time again that we've had to come in your presence. Those that were able to join us on the call, I greatly appreciate them taking the time out of their Shabbat day to fellowship one to another and with me. We just glorify your name. We thank you for all that you're doing in and through our lives, the lives of our children and our entire household. Bless us continually as we go forth in your word, and we receive these things that we've read as instruction on how we should live our lives, and empowering us to be bold and repent of the sins of our forefathers and foremothers. We seek your will, your way. We are so far down in this hole, cut off from you due to the issues of the past, that now in this day and age, when you've called for us to awaken, we seek after you. We seek after you. It's time, Mosiah. We want to serve you. We desire to serve you with all of our heart, mind, will, and emotions. I pray that each and every one of the families represented here, I pray that they're able to hear your voice more clearly. I pray that you're able to speak to them this night. Speak to them on how they can be better husbands, better wives, better brothers, better sisters. Bless these, your people, your children. Empower them to raise their children in righteousness and holiness. Regardless of what situations that come their way, I pray that you empower them to prosper and strengthen them in their hand to do all that you've called on them to do according to your will, according to the path you set forth for them. I pray they operate and live in divine health, wholeness, wellness, focus of mind, soberness and heart, seeking your will in every aspect of their life. I pray that they take an inventory of their life, seeking after your ways. And anything that's not of you, I pray that you remove it and you empower them to remove it from their lives. I thank you for it being done now in the name of Yeshua Mashiach. Amen, amen, and hallelujah.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Amen. Hallelujah. Yes.
Appreciate that, More. This is
Thank
really,
you.
Appreciate
really edifying.
Yes,
And,
yes.
And I even saw in I even though I said mine was different. Mine mentioned the book of Enoch. I think it was Judah was mentioned in the book of Enoch. So for a lot of people, for a lot of us that don't feel comfortable with the which I'm not, but a lot of brews don't feel comfortable with Apocrypha. That was kind of cool to see that I have something to like look. It even mentions it in some of these 12 patriarchs.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's various manuscripts. Some mention it, some don't. But yeah, it's all good. The book I have actually has all the various manuscripts. I try to go with the most ancient ones. But yeah, absolutely.
No, I like yours better because there's a lot that this PDF does not have. It'd be sometimes as much as a sentence. Some of these verses are missing a whole sentence, and I would prefer whatever it is that you're reading from to have that as the 12 patriarchs. But on the other hand,
you can glean from them all. Absolutely. All right,
yeah,
y'all.
appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. I will try to get this up online probably, tomorrow. Again, I thank you for joining, and until next time, shalom.
Shalom, family.
Shalom,
Thank you,
everybody.
Maury. Thank you
Shabbat
so much.
shalom.
Shalom.
Hey, everybody drive safe. Those of you that have traveled and gone different places to fellowship, make sure you guys drive safe, all right?
All right. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom, family.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.
Oh.